Hello, it's Bobby,
I'm Julia.
and today we're talking about pet food. We're going to start off with Valens because it's actually the food that we feed to our dogs. And sometimes to our cats, but they kind of switch it up a little more because they're spoiled. So, Valens is a small Canadian company. A lot of you probably have never heard of it because they're just little, they've been in business for probably about 5 years now.
A little bit longer than our store has been open.
So, right on the front page, you can see Mike Campbell. He's the founder and owner. One of the things I really like about dealing with small companies is if I was dealing with some huge corporation and I try and get an answer, I'm just going to talk to one customer service person after another customer service person, and nobody's going to have a clue what's going on. I can email Mike directly. Like, as a store owner, I can just reach out right to the owner. And I really appreciate that kind of transparency from the small companies.
Mm-hmm.
So let's dive in and let's take a look at some of their foods. So all of their foods are all life stages. They do have a kitten specific one as well as a small breed. So let's look at the small breed real quick. And we'll go down to the ingredients. So you'll notice here a lot of meat. So turkey, salmon, turkey, and then you got the peas, sweet potatoes. Where you see the term Vita Cube here, what that means is that they freeze dried some cod and put the pieces in. That really increases the palatability of it. So a lot of picky eaters will eat this food. That tends to be one of the main things that we recommend it for is picky eaters.
Kind of like putting treats in their food, but it's just protein.
Yeah. Really the only knock on the food that I would have is things like pea protein and natural flavor. Natural flavor is one of those just like really ambiguous terms, so I'd like to see a more definitive term there.
It can mean a lot of things.
Pea protein, I mean, with all this meat, they don't really need it. I'm sure they were trying to bump it from 29 to 30% or something like that, but I would rather just leave that out. A really unique thing is all these huge Latin words here are probiotics. So there's actually a lot of probiotics in it. And then kind of it's a very common knock, but I'd like to see more foods get away from the vitamin and mineral packs and be able to just have whole ingredients that provide those.
There actually are different qualities of vitamin packs. For some are more digestible than others, but the vitamins and minerals in those forms in general can be hard on a senior dog if they have kidney problems.
Yeah, even the best vitamin or mineral isn't as good as just a naturally occurring version of it. So some of these foods actually could get away without adding that in. They just do to kind of play it safe in their mind. I'd like to see more foods go in the direction of kind of phasing those out. So next I'm going to look at chicken and turkey. So once again, you'll see lots of chicken, lots of turkey. The little freeze-dried pieces of chicken. And if we look at the feeding rate here, so I tend to do 60 pounds. I don't really have a good reason for it. It's just my standard. I kind of think of that as an average sized dog. So with Valens, you're looking at about 2 cups a day, which is pretty much as low as you're going to get. That's the consistent number amongst the high-end foods.
That means it's very nutrient dense, and that means you don't eat a whole lot.
And we have newfies, so
yeah.
For example, our big guy, 180 pounds, he eats about 4 cups a day. This is foods out there we have to eat 12. So it's a very substantial difference. Probably the most popular one would be their pasture, and that's because there's lamb, beef, boar, bison, lamb, pork, lamb, beef, boar.
The liver cubes are a big hit. That's like one of the most popular treats. So
yeah, you can't go wrong with liver. And we'll pop over to the cat. So they have actually just recently gotten rid of their fisher and their cat. Just a lack of popularity, which is a bummer, but there's still the chicken and turkey, the indoor, and the kitten. Once again, they are all life stages, so it's not a big deal to feed the kitten to an adult or the other ones to a kitten. The biggest difference would be the indoor formula. So indoor is basically the polite way of saying they're probably chunky, they probably have hairballs.
So they increase the fiber typically to make them feel full so they don't eat as much.
Yeah, and they'll also, by having a lot of fibers and a lot of omegas, that's basically, if you go out and buy a hairball paste, it'll just be a fiber and an oil. So that's trying to work it through the system. So you can do the same thing in a food, you just increase the fiber, increase the omegas, and just try and work it right through. And that's the other thing that I really like about Valens, is the omegas. So if we go here, it's 4.2% omega-3, 1% omega-6. That is insanely high. Like, a comparable food would be, say, Origin 6 fish, similar in quality. I believe it's about 2.2% omega-3s, and that's high. So you're going to see foods out there that are 0.4. So that's a really nice thing.
Another point about the omegas is omega-6s are inflammatory and omega-3s are anti-inflammatory. And so, like, with this food, with the omega-3s being so high, it's actually really good for their body because it, tries to decrease inflammation. Yeah. But in a lot of foods, they actually aim for a 1-to-1 because it's so hard for them to get the omega-3s high.
Yeah, typically you're looking at 2 to 3 times as much omega-6s as 3s in an average food. So to have a 4-to-1 in the opposite direction is actually really good. And even their pasture, which is a red meat based diet, and red meats are very inflammatory, very omega-6 based, because they do add, the key ingredient for that would be the cod liver. If I can find it. There it is. So the cod liver is just a fantastic source of vitamins and omega-3s. So even the pasture, which would be the most omega-6 rich food, is just barely under the omega-6s.
Basically a 1-to-1, which is pretty incredible for red meat food.
Yeah. So basically the main things when we're talking to a consumer about Valens would be if they have a lot of dry skin, flakiness, that's where the omega-3s would really come in handy. Yeah. It lubricates the skin, it makes everything nice and shiny.
Also for growing puppies, it helps develop brain and eye.
Yeah. There's also a lot of probiotics in it for yeast candida issues like we talked about earlier in the week.
Or just a healthy gut in general.
Yeah. And the little cubes of dried meat really help with animals that take a bit of convincing to eat, as well as just the high meat content, making it so you don't have to feed a lot. So you'll never see us do a top 10 list of the best foods, ranking them or anything, because there's no such thing as a best food. It's always by scenario.
Yeah, it always depends on the dog, the situation, if they have any health problems, activity level.
But Valens is kind of the food that we like best as like a well-roundedness.
Kind of a blanket food, covers a lot of bases.
It's always going to be amongst the top foods for a lot of different cases. And as crazy people with 7 dogs, ranging in age from 3 months to 9 years, we need something that's very broad in its abilities. But that's not to say that one food is superior or inferior, as long as it's in kind of that same general quality area. Alright, so thank you for watching the video, and I hope that you've learned a lot more about Valens and kind of what a high quality food looks like. Thank you.